Hey, hey. Oh, Denim.
Yeah, Denim Squad. Hey,
Uh,
Colin.
Sorry for the delay. I was on a call. I thought that you texted me saying that you wanted to like do it later. I mean, it's fine now. I'm perfectly fine. But in my head, I didn't wrap it up. like I thought I
Oh,
had extra like 30 minutes or so. So I was like, yeah, they want to
you
talk.
still got that? Oh, sorry, I edited it. Because I thought you wouldn't have gotten it, but it seems like Slack still delivered it live.
I saw it quickly, but I was on calls, so it was like
Mm.
it's all good. But yeah, I'm happy this worked out.
Yeah,
How are you? Uh,
yeah, I'm great, man. Crispy, crispy as usual. Um, how was the
Beautiful.
call?
I've had a lot of calls today. All really good though. Good things are happening. I feel like there's like a million different pieces that I see them coming together, but like I see the point, but maybe we're like here. so like, different people don't really see the point, but I see it. I see it progressing.
Hmm. Nice. You're the visionary.
Yeah,
Yep.
I guess that's accurate. Um, yeah, I'm actually live on YouTube.
Oh, sweet.
This
Okay.
week we're doing YouTube, and then I'm hoping like next week we can maybe add in LinkedIn. I actually think the person I was on a call with before is a family friend who I'm having like shadow me a little bit, looking to see if he wants to like help me out with some operations stuff. He's like interested in product engineering, just what I do. So I was like, you know what? You can't come on our video podcast because you don't make the cut, but I'm going to go live on YouTube. So maybe we have a viewer.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, I just Googled it. I just checked it out on YouTube. Sorry. I'm like, okay, and I see myself. Not intimidating at all.
Well, we're just starting. I also the call that I was on before was my social media team member who I feel like we're in a good place where I feel like the last conversations that we had, I thought I'm interested in like our conversations. I thought that they're really good. I like where this is going. Um, I'm ready to like start posting a lot and then trying to like go live and see where we could take this um, together and see kind of you know what happens. But I feel like there's a lot of good that can come out of this. So I'm excited.
All right, absolutely. Yeah, same here, man. Same here. We got some tips and tricks up our sleeves that we want to share with everybody, right? Free of charge, and build the community, build the network. I'm making progress with my community as well. Had our first kind of phone call to kind of map out how things might progress, kind of refine the vision and what this whole Christian entrepreneurial community in Jamaica is about. So that's progress on my end. I'm happy to hear you're making progress too.
Where tell me more about the progress you made.
Yeah,
What's new about that?
yeah. We hopped into Google Docs. So there's this other guy who I think is a really good fit, and we've been talking for a couple of weeks, and we finally hopped into Google Docs, and I laid out an agenda with questions, very basic questions that, such as, what is this thing that we are forming? How would you define it if somebody were to ask you, what is it? Like, what would you tell them? And we sat down and we pieced it together, asking questions like, why is it useful? Why is it useful spiritually? Why is it useful financially? Why is it useful socially? And why I did that is because I came up with a concept. So obviously I can answer these questions, but I don't want to be so absolute and so certain that I'm locked up in a prison of certainty, but being out of touch with reality. If you know what I mean? So playing devil's advocate, not acting as if I know it all. There might be something that I'm missing, and so when I took myself out of detached myself from how I feel about this whole group thing, and throw it out to somebody else, I'm able to get an outside perspective that I didn't even consider. And this is probably a great tip in business, especially when we have business ideas as entrepreneurs. It's good to throw it out to people who are unbiased, who are not emotionally attached to this idea, so that they can give you a more objective view and maybe answer some questions that you should be asking. So that was pretty fruitful. So I'm
So
happy
what,
about that.
what's your, let me ask you, what's your like pitch to people? So you're finding people and you're like, say what?
Oh, my pitch is horrible. My pitch is horrible, and I haven't started aggressively marketing this group as yet. But right now, I'm kind of eyeing, different people as I scroll through social media, look to see the content they're posting. But if they're a good fit, the first thing I ask is, "Hey, are you an entrepreneur by any chance?" It's a horrible pitch. It's so casual. It's so I guess
Where like
this is
anywhere on social? Like, how are you finding people?
LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, Instagram so
Okay.
far. LinkedIn and Instagram so far. I'm gonna dive into Facebook, um, but it's just very, very. What's the term? It's not an aggressive approach. It's
Yeah.
more like, hey, first, are you an entrepreneur? Then, okay, awesome. I'm starting a group of Christian business entrepreneurs who are men in Jamaica. Then I ask them, hey, are you a Christian by any chance? If they say yes, then okay, hey, let's hop on a call sometime this week. That's it.
And then what? You do diagnostics, but what are you pitching them exactly? Just like participate? I'm just trying to understand what's the value prop that you're delivering to
Mhm.
them.
Yeah. So men overall need community. And especially in Jamaica, there aren't many spaces for men to communicate. And then to take it to another layer, there aren't many places for Christian men to communicate. And then to take it another layer, there's not many place spaces for Christian men who are also entrepreneurs to communicate and battle the challenges that come at every layer. Being a Christian, that's a challenge already in Jamaica. The women are beautiful. Being an entrepreneur, that's another challenge in Jamaica, third world country, making great progress towards second and first world. And then being a man is also a challenge in Jamaica. There are stereotypes, there are expectations of men that are some of which are unrealistic, right? Some of them are unrealistic. And so I think that men tend to put up a front so that we aren't shunned by society, right? And so I'm creating a space where men can be open and honest about the struggles that they're facing. That Christian men can be open and honest about the spiritual struggles that they're facing, and then Christian men who are entrepreneurs can be open about the financial and business struggles that they're facing, and we can support each other and right in a community, spend money with each other too, like use each other's businesses and services as well. So it's sort of a little ecosystem that I'm trying to create. And yeah, so that's the pretty much the value prop. There
I see.
isn't anything else like it
Yeah.
so far. So it's, I think I have a first mover's advantage in that regard, and I've started groups before, and so it's not my first rodeo, and so I think this time I'm trying to do things a little differently.
Are you hoping, I know that this is kind of still high level, but you're hoping that if you find someone that's entrepreneurial, that let's say has their own service, that then maybe join your group and you could like help them with LinkedIn, like offer your services,
LinkedIn,
yeah,
yeah.
some social media stuff. What the person that you're speaking with, what's the type of business that this person is in?
Oh, he's in transportation, so he has taxis, on the
Okay.
road. Yeah, yeah, locally. So yeah, a pretty cool guy. I know he's a Christian. We've been in the same kind of connect group, so that's like a small group that churches break out into small groups, and so we're a part of a men's connect group that we meet regularly, and so that kind of inspired the whole idea as to this Christian male entrepreneur group. The only difference is this is you have to also be an entrepreneur. That's
Yeah.
probably the main difference. Yeah. So
So
he fits the bill.
got it. So, coming out of last week, I think I mentioned to you, I wanted to better understand like your offers because I feel like even in this, it's like having some fine-tuned understanding of like what you're offering and like structure around that.
Yeah.
I feel like is important in these types of things. It's like I know you could do a lot, but it's like how do you think about your offers, and then also like what are the offers that you enjoy doing? Because I know that you have the YouTube, you do some LinkedIn, like you have like social media. How do you think about structuring your offers?
Hmm. This is a great question. I think most people need to think about this question before they dive into business. All right. Well,
Or you,
first of all,
I would say I found from experience that when I didn't think about this, it made it very hard to close. I would
uh,
sell, I would pitch, but I wouldn't close because I didn't really have a lot of structure around understanding what it is that I'm offering. So I felt like it came across that way. That's just my story. Like I would pitch things and I felt like I would walk away reflective of like why that didn't work. And a lot of it looking back was because I didn't really have good structure around understanding what it is that I was selling. And that like understanding that has been a consistent challenge that even today I kind of struggle with because offers change over time, right? What you're selling constantly change. So it's like a consistent process. But yeah, that's why I want to throw it over to you. Like what is it that you're trying to sell?
yeah, thank you. So I want to sell the ease of booking sales appointments through LinkedIn without the hassle of messaging anyone yourself. So I guess I'm selling somewhat of a time saver for your lead generation and outreach. I think that's pretty high level of what I'm selling. To get a little bit more grounded, I provide LinkedIn automation services. Yeah, with some sprinklings of content creation to support that. So yeah, as muddy as it can get, there it is, Colin. As muddy as it can.
So
Let's make it clear.
do you how much do you charge? Because the just to go to the price, the software, the automation software, the Dripify, how much does that cost you per account?
Okay, Dripify, I pass that cost to the customer, so they
Sure,
cover the subscription.
sure, but how much is
Generally,
that?
Dripify
40
is
bucks?
between 59 to 99 bucks. So
Okay.
the sweet spot is 80 bucks. That's the plan I recommend.
And how do you structure your offer in terms of your own time? Is it like retainer? Do you do like month to month? Do you do like a 3 month commitment? What's been your typical way of, if I'm on the receiving end and I say, okay, I like you, what does it mean to like proceed? What are you gonna what does that look like?
Okay, wonderful. So first of all, I never go into a sales call without an agenda, which
Sure.
is a Google Doc with their picture on it, a picture snapshot of their LinkedIn, their website, which shows that I did my research, and I actually have my offers laid out in a Google Doc right in front of both of us, and I'm sharing screen as we're going along. And so I literally, but I don't add the prices because I don't want them to skip
Yeah.
ahead while we're talking and be like, "Oh, wait, this is way too expensive," or I don't want them to jump to conclusions even before. And I'm not expensive, by the way. But when somebody asks, "Okay, what do you charge?" Then I scroll to that section of the agenda and then I outline for them three options. Could be two, could be one, but I just think three gives people enough flexibility, but without being intimidated. I think five offers or five options is a little too much, and I think two is too few. All right, so I think three is a sweet spot, and so my rates range from 397 USD up to 1197 USD per month. Now this is month to month, and I'm reconsidering probably asking or suggesting a 3 month retainer. So this is month to month for direct clients that I meet on LinkedIn, but for for clients I meet on Upwork, then I also do hourly, right? Which I'm probably gonna shift away from hourly as well. Um, but I hope that answers your question in terms of
Yeah,
rate.
well, yeah, it definitely does. What for hourly, like then how do you think about structuring your own time? If someone says, okay, that sounds good, I'll let's do 5 hours. So you have the price, but then what do you do to fulfill that service? What are you
Mhm.
going to do for that amount of hours?
For the 5 hours. Okay,
Yeah.
first we have to meet. There's onboarding that needs to take place. So I need to learn their business because of the nature of the business. I can't just walk away and then do everything on my own.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't work like that. So I spend, I'd say, about 2 hours, and space in two different sessions, of course, so it's not too lengthy. And we walk through what your business is about. What is your business? What do you sell? And then we move on to creating messaging and targeting. So three basic things. We look at the LinkedIn profile to see what can we tweak to optimize it. Maybe the background photo needs to speak more about what your business is about and your core beliefs. Second, the messaging for the target audience, and three, the actual list of targets that we're going for on LinkedIn. That's pretty much what we cover in that session.
Okay. And so that is what, 1, 2 hours, 3 hours, like the first few sessions to do that work because that takes time.
Yeah. So in the first session, we'll do enough that I can actually build a basic campaign and
Yeah.
start sending out connection invites through the software. All right. If messaging isn't ready, all right, let's say we need to, walk away and come back to it, then we can always insert the messaging later on. So we haven't lost any time, we haven't lost any resources. But in that first session, we want to start setting up the campaigns so that connections can start going out. Then throughout the week, what I'll do is I'll start checking in on their profile, checking in to make sure things are working as they should, the messages are going out, and that everything is copacetic.
Do you do you require them having like a premium account at all or sales navigator?
Oh,
Or
great question. Great question. Ah, if they already have a premium account like I always recommend Sales Navigator. It provides way better search functionality. But if they don't have one, then I have access to a Sales Navigator account. So in a sense, I tell them that I save them $99 a month.
yeah.
And they're usually very appreciative of that. And so yeah, so it's optional. They
Okay.
can or they don't have to.
But if they so I haven't used this like Dripify software for a while. Do you have access to their account or do they like if you use your sales navigator or Dripify, it has to be linked to their account, right? So you're sending out data through their account, right?
Mhm.
So do
Yep.
you if they don't have sales navigator, how do you use your sales navigator to link up to their Dripify? Is there like a
Oh,
challenge
yeah,
there?
yeah. There's a little workaround. There's a little workaround. So first, the Sales Navigator search is pulled into the Dripify account that's connected to that LinkedIn.
Yeah,
Then, once the leads have been populated, we can export all the leads into an Excel sheet and then upload that list into the other client's Dripify account.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the workaround.
Cool. So, okay. So you set up the profile, you do the Dripify, you start sending outreach, and then what is in your offer? What's the structure between your responsibilities and then the client's responsibilities?
Hmm. All right, wonderful question. Wonderful question. Yeah, because if you don't set the boundaries, somebody will. All right,
Yeah.
exactly. Great questions. So my responsibilities are, okay, meeting with the client. I'd say once a week. That's what I recommend. But once every 2 weeks is fine as well. Optimizing the profile and looking for opportunities to make the profile more attractive. That will increase the reply rate and increase the acceptance rate. If people can trust you more, then they're more likely to accept your connection request. So I work on improving I guess the trust capital of the account, how much trust is, I guess, estimated or created when somebody looks at that person's profile. My responsibilities are maintaining the campaigns, ensuring that when leads run out, that I refresh it with fresh leads that match the target audience. My my responsibilities also include making recommendations based on the current performance of the campaigns. So using the metrics such as the acceptance rate, the reply rates, and those are the main ones: acceptances and replies. Right? Using those metrics to, I guess, inform the optimization of the profile. Maybe we need to add social posts, right? To provide some kind of expert feel or look of authority. And where do we get those? Okay, do you have a blog? All right, let's get your blog. We'll use Chat GPT and a couple other great software like Napkin, .ai to create social posts, then create visuals to go with those social posts. And then I'll format them, make them pretty, make them easy to read. And then we start pushing out posts on your profile. Now, typically, this probably should be an additional service charge, Colin. But so I don't know if I'm just too kind or if I'm being a bad businessman. But I don't know. I do it for free. It's a freebie. It's an add-on. Right? And but tell me, like, what are your thoughts on that? I'm adding an extra service without
Yeah.
charging more for it.
So I have one other question before I answer that one, and that's you set up the campaigns and then you send the connection request, maybe like a message 2 or 3 kind of sequence. When
Yeah.
someone responds, whose responsibility is that?
Ah, great, great, great. So I set time to hop in and check on those, but oftentimes the client is so excited that they hop in themselves, and they're normally on LinkedIn. Well, sometimes they're on LinkedIn and pretty active. However, I still check the inbox to see if there's anything they missed that I need to respond to, and then I'll capture any interested leads and put them in a Google sheet and track the progress. So at the end of the week, we can see, okay, how many leads are interested. And this is something new that I'm doing. I'm also tracking statistics. So how many connection requests have been sent in the past week, and how many have been accepted, how many replies, etc., etc. And I think that that might help me to better market my business. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
because that I can show results. I can say, okay, out
yeah.
of 1,000 connection requests sent for this client that I had, they got 20 leads or 20 paying clients, and that should help. I've never done that before.
Um, okay, this is all great. So let me ask you some hard hitting questions based off of that structure of how you structure your offer. Um, what would you say is the typical retention on businesses that you sign up? Like, what's the lifetime value? How long are they running that campaign for?
Nice, man. There's clients who are 2 years, and there's clients who are 2 months. Right? Everybody's business is different, different industries. They
Yeah.
have different expectations, and sometimes I think I don't one line up their expectations with reality, effectively, or two, they just wanted to try it out. They just wanted to test it out to see if this LinkedIn thing is for me, and if it's not. And then thirdly, there are some things that they just don't want to do. For example, they they well, it's that they don't want to. No, I think there's some things that they don't want to accept, like
Yeah.
certain facts and realities that they don't want to accept. For example, let's say they're marketing to health and fitness industry. That's their client base, health and fitness, and the reality is their their profile isn't very welcoming. Right? They're not smiling on their photo. They have nothing on their background photo, and I make recommendations. Okay, maybe you could tweak this. Maybe, but they don't think it's important, or they're fearful of putting themselves out there too much for personal reasons. And I mean, I don't want to fight them on that. Maybe I need to learn how to better communicate, um, that it's okay. All right. Um, but that's I think the third issue that I faced. And then for some, they just don't renew, they don't move forward. And then also budget. Sometimes their budget isn't there for this project. It like the pain that I solve isn't great enough, for them to pay for it. It's something that they're still willing to, kind of experience on their own, that pain, right? And so it's just not worth it for them. They'd probably rather spend that money on cold calling, right? And that's okay, right? But some people are really psyched up about LinkedIn because they've seen the results in the past.
The client that you've had for 2 years, what industry is that in?
He's a consultant. He's a
Yeah.
consultant. Yeah, yeah. Go to market strategy. Another one I had for 2 years is a writer. He writes websites.
And what are some typical like target markets that person's going after? Or is he selling to individuals or agencies, or like who's creating the ROI for him, as an example?
Oh my gosh! So the writer, oh man, it was awesome working with him. So we did so many different industries. We did speakers, we did other writers, we did consultants, we also did agencies, and we even did a course, like we offered a writing course, and then we onboarded people in there, and then I started doing automations for those people who came in as well, because they're learning how to write an email newsletter, and then I help them to market it, right? So they can grow their email newsletter. So that was a great partnership in there. But he switched gears, and he landed an agency, and he said, he's going to spend more time working with the agency. So, but we're still great friends. Love him to bits. Like one of my best clients ever.
That's great. I had a very similar experience to what you said. I started and I was selling automations, and I would sell it for $500 a month. I would try to get like a 3-year commit, or sorry, 3-month commitment, because I ran into the same situation where you do it for a month. It yields connection requests, it yields results, but not ROI. So you're on the hook of something that you can't really control, which is the responses that you're going to receive when you do that. That
Yeah.
for me was the biggest challenge with that path of like the consistency of not being able to control my own destiny, and like cash flow, that made it challenging for me to have stability in this, even though I liked my clients and even though I was doing the work. Um, and for me, I kind of realized that it's all about how you structure the offer. So managing expectations, but then also how do you vet them? So for
Yeah.
what I did that I found success in was separated out. What you described is exactly the way I say it. There's an onboarding and then there's a fulfillment, right? You have to set up the profile and you have to kind of understand the target market. You have to understand a lot about where they're at and meeting them where they're at before you can really determine what the strategy is. Now, originally, I would sell those two things together, kind of like what you're saying. Like you would sell it together and then you would try to get them to say yes. So your offer structure was, I'm going to help you with LinkedIn. And this is what I charge. But I found that I was getting yeses, but not stability, because there was too many people that were turning over for a variety of reasons. Some of it was budget, some of it was ROI, like things like that. So what I did that I had a lot more success on was, how do I separate out those two things? So instead of selling fulfillment and saying, oh, I'm going to do all this stuff for you, I set up, I would sell just a profile makeover. Like I would sell the onboarding as its own thing that had a finite price point I would even charge a premium. So I remember I would sell $500 a month, right, for like automations. But then I was like, well, what if I just sold $1,000 to redo the profile? And I would get yeses. So I would make more money just selling that. And again, this is a little bit before ChatGPT. I do understand that ChatGPT kind of makes it easier, but what I sold was I elongated that process, and I would sell the onboarding to say, okay, you want to know about LinkedIn. I want to help you with LinkedIn, but I don't know enough about your business. I don't know there's a lot of things that I don't know to really be in a position to sell you fulfillment of services. So what I want to sell you is an exercise. We want to go through a 3-step meeting process where we're going to conduct interviews. I'm going to learn about your target market. I'm going to learn about your offer. I'm going to learn about your story. I'm going to record it on Zoom. I'm going to transcribe it. I'm going to write it, and I'm going to deliver to you a copy doc that outlines all the things that I'm going to need to know if we're going to proceed to services. And we're going to talk about your story. We're going to talk about how to present yourself. We're going to talk about how to do your personal brand. And if that goes well and it makes sense and we understand and you now want to get results, then we could talk about the fulfillment and like what results look like, because I don't know what results look like because there's lots of different things that we could do. I just don't really know what that is yet. And I found that once I started doing that and I separated those out, it was easier to sell that first part with a beginning, middle, and an end that allowed me to vet whether or not they had money and whether or not they were serious about wanting to get results. I found that certain people really were fine just with that upfront, like they just felt like they were embarrassed by their profile. That was kind of the core problem that I was solving. They understood that LinkedIn could get results, but they were embarrassed by the way that they were presenting themselves. I viewed it as they weren't sharing their story accurately. I think we've talked about this in the past, where I would get on a call with them to try to do diagnostics. And then when we get into the details, they would say things like, this is my vision. And it's like, wait, what? That I didn't even like, wait, where did that come from? I've done the research. Like, you have that, like, that's your side hustle. I didn't know that. You have to say that. And so what I found that happened so many times that it wound up causing me a lot more challenges to sell the fulfillment when I didn't know all that information, because there was too many times that like I was being there was like giving the wrong information, because I would try to do my research, but then when we got into it and they would talk about like what they really wanted, I was like, wait, we should share that story. We should do something different. I should position you in a different way with a different target market than what you originally said, right? Even in your writer situation, it's like, okay, well, he does writing, but does he want to go after agencies? Does he want to go after individuals? Like, what type of business does he want to create? Is it a lifestyle business? Is it like, does he want to have employees? All that stuff probably changes the target market. So what I did was I started separating those two things out, where I was like, okay, I don't want to sell the fulfillment because I don't really know if that's going to be sticky. And I don't know if they're a good client yet, because I don't know if they know what they want. And I find that the people that don't know what they want means that it's not a good client, because I'm not going to be able to help them for the long run unless they understand what they kind of want. And so I would sell a little bit higher price point for just that first part. And then what happened was, and this is where it all started for me, is I started getting yeses. I was getting a lot of no's at the beginning with this automation thing because they didn't really understand what I was talking about. And I was selling so many things that were like hypotheticals. It was just like, I didn't have structure. It was like, it didn't present well, because I would be like, I'm going to do all these things for you. And then like, we're just going to like hope that it works. And I found that once I switched it to say, we could talk about that at the right time, but we're going to do this. It's going to have a beginning, middle, and an end. This is the cost. Do you want to proceed? That's how it starts. And it was easier. I started getting yeses. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. And then some of those people didn't move on, but it didn't waste my time, because I wound up making more money off of them for a shorter gig. Because you could even bucket, if you do $500, you could charge, I would charge $1,500. $2,000. I kept going up because it was like $1,000. I got a yes. And I was like, $1,500. I would get a yes. And it was $2,000. I got a yes. And then it was $2,500. Then I got a no. And I was like, okay, maybe $2,000 is the way to go. But that's kind of how I started. I started separating those two things out. And I started realizing that the way that I was structuring the offer made it easier to make more money, and also allowed me a quicker path to do upsells, because then I could position that second part of the fulfillment. So I would go back to potentially, okay, now that we have a good profile set up and I understand what you want, now I could sell you on what it costs as a retainer to try to see how to get results. And I could kind of be in a better position to structure what the responsibilities were. based off of all the information I gathered in that first part. Once I separated out those two things, I felt like I started having much more success at not only selling myself, but also like finding better clients. So
Yeah, interesting.
That's one advice that just worked for me. And then the fulfillment side of it, I mean, we've talked about this before. The automations I feel like scared me because I felt like I wasn't getting an ROI quick enough. That was my situation where it was like, okay, you just got somebody to give you potentially $1,500 to redo the profile. I would maybe create a PDF, something that like could be featured on their profile, maybe a video, something that I could kind of do to help them share their story, that I knew that if I was doing fulfillment, this would be important to kind of come across the right way. And then I had some clients that were excited. Okay, what can we do next? And then that became, well, I was selling automation. But the problem with automation is that like you lose control, because it's like you're putting your business into the hands of fate.
Yeah.
And that became the next challenge for me of like, well, how do I structure the fulfillment? That was like a whole new animal. I figured out kind of how to structure the initial offer, because I wouldn't sell the fulfillment. I would just sell to vet them. Do you have money and do you find value in this? Are you trying to invest in LinkedIn? And are you investing in like me learning about your business? The answer to that is yes. I'm happy to have the second conversation about the fulfillment, but then that became a whole other puzzle. How do you structure the fulfillment and division of responsibilities that make the client excited about moving forward, but also puts me in a position of control? Because if I was just selling Dripify, what's to say that the person doesn't just do that on his own eventually? Because that's what happened. Once they understood what I was doing, they were like, well, they looked it up and they could say, well, I could just do this for this amount of money. Why am I paying you? Especially when you have a good profile. I ran it. I lost business because of that. So I had to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, well, how can I structure something that puts me in position of power? Because I'm better than automations. That was kind of the next opening up for me about like account management services, where I'm partnering with them to try to get them to think I'm structuring the offer in a way that makes them think that I'm better at it than the market. Because anybody could do certain things, but not everybody has the capabilities that I have because I'm doing X, Y, or Z.
Oh, nice. So it seems we're talking a lot about structuring offers here. So do you think then most people, would you say most businesses should definitely restructure their offers? And is it product based businesses or service based businesses that
I would
should
say
do that?
most, well, first of all, I think everybody needs to structure offers in a particular way that I've learned for specifically LinkedIn, because you're networking with strangers. And so that doesn't just mean about like, yes, you could be a good salesman and close deals, but like, that doesn't mean that it's the best use of your time, because you have embedded the client. You don't know if they are in a position that like have money. And I've wasted a lot of time because I've gone down the wrong path with the wrong person, that then like 3 months later, it leads nowhere. So like, that was part of the reason I separated, not just because it was like about me. It was about like, is this worth my time? I don't know. I have one quick story is I actually worked. It's the only time that somebody that I did work that someone didn't pay me. Only happened once. And it was somebody that I met that did the video marketing services that, you know, it was in the early days where I was selling everything, right? So it's like, let's just get this campaign going. And he did pay me that first low amount, right? So it's like $500, whatever, to get started. Okay, he paid. So then I'm running the campaign. And I am making connections. I am getting people kind of interested, but he's not closing deals. I don't think he had a real grasp over what he was selling. he was selling so many things of like video marketing services that like was kind of confusing. This is where I started realizing I feel like I should have charged this guy more up front to even get to a place where I'm here now trying to figure this part out, because it's not a good use of my time. And I'm starting to question whether or not this guy has, how long this is going to go on. And then he started, saying things like, I'll pay you soon. It was just not a good situation. No one else like real. And then it's like, well, what do you do? Kind of back to your question, right? Do you keep doing it because you signed up to help? Because at the end of the day, now you're in business together, like you want to help. Do you keep running the campaigns? Do you spend your time looking at the accounts? Like he says he's going to pay you. Maybe he does. I structured offers in a way to avoid those scenarios because I realized that there was a problem. Like I put myself in this situation. I didn't vet them up front. I didn't structure the offer in a right way that empowered me to really find out this information up front, because, he sold me. He was a little bit older. I don't want to say I was desperate. I was excited. I was excited to help people. I wanted to do it. And then I realized that enthusiasm kind of, wound up biting me in the butt, because I was excited to do it. And then I kind of just was doing free work after like a month or two. He wasn't really paying me. And I realized, okay, I need to structure my offer service in a way that is a little bit more premium, that has a little bit more upfront, like we're going through like an initial vetting process that seems fair, because I'm going to deliver on what I'm saying, but like this is vetting for me and you to see if we're a good fit for services, fulfillment. So I realized in that moment that like when you network on LinkedIn, you're dealing with strangers. There's different time zones. Like you don't know what you don't know. So it's easier to just go into a sales process with like, this is my introductory offer. I standardize it. This is what it costs. And then it's a matter of whether or not you are valuing the investment of LinkedIn at that point. Like, do you want to partner with somebody to help you get results on LinkedIn? If the answer is yes, then I'm the guy that you should invest in. But like, let's just start with this initial project. I actually found that people respected that. When I phrased it that way, I wound up being like, okay, like I actually like what this guy's saying, because I don't really want to go into like this long-term arrangement either. I don't really know him. Let's see how good his work is. And then I could sell people on the work, which is what got me out of that. And I think that most people don't think about it that way. I've seen this all the time when people pitch. It's like they're pitching these like long-term contracts essentially. Even if it's like month to month and there's outs, there's not enough understanding of what you're doing and what the division of responsibilities are to know at that point if it's a good fit. So instead of just doing it and then hoping for the best, which is where I started, I realized, okay, my time is valuable. I don't want to, I want to like respect it. So it's a matter of like, what is my intro offer? This is my introductory offer for a new client of how we get started. This is what I like to do, because we have to do onboarding. We have to do diagnostics. This is the fair price that makes it so I want to move forward. And yes, there are services that I can do to help you in the long term, but let's figure that out not today. And I actually found that separating those things out over a long period of time allowed me to get better clients, because what happened was the good ones, after we did that first one, they were excited to move forward. What else can you do? And then it also allowed me to start figuring out, well, what are we doing? Like, is it automations? For me, the answer became no. I told you that's why I set up those virtual machines, because it was like, well, if you just give me access to your account, I have Sales Navigator. I will find the people for you. We'll open up conversations, but also I could do other things, because I could create content. I could post. I could look at your recently viewed profiles. I could look at your work anniversaries. I could like open conversations with a lot of different types of campaigns. I could get people to ask people to follow your company page. Once they're followed the company page, I can open up a conversation and say like, hey, I saw you just followed my company page. And I could open up a lot more conversations, not automated, that allowed me more flexibility to understand what my responsibilities were. And the client appreciated that because I'm now separating myself from the market a little bit more because it's like you could do all this yourself, but you don't want to. Uh,
Mhm.
and you could set up automations, but that's only a snippet of this. So it's like that's a part. But what about like account management? What about prospecting? What about really trying to like think through how we're growing together, like in all these different
Yeah,
ways? A lot of things that, like
strategically.
you said, yeah, the strategic analysis, but like really trying to open up more opportunities. And the client saw that we were doing it. We could even comment or help you with commenting to raise your recently to raise your profile views. There's lots of different actions, let's just say, that we could take that I could sell that allow me to sell more premium. Or even, to be honest, if it is not premium, but it's still $500, uh, it gave me wiggle room on the fulfillment side to start figuring out how I have some money, disposable income to try to create some operation jobs, right? Because now all of a sudden I have uh, standard operating procedures because the operating procedures is what I was selling, not the automation. It was like, no, I have a standard operating procedure. This is how we manage accounts. And I could even walk through that for the fulfillment. And I found that when I did that, people were like, oh, he's really gotten this more buttoned up.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's a little bit harder.
Organized.
He's a little bit more organized. It's a little bit more of a team. He's thought this through a little bit more. It's a little harder for me to probably find somebody else that does it this way. And that was the entry point into sticky fulfillment.
Yeah, oh, that's great, Colin. That's wow, I love it. Absolutely wonderful. Thanks for pointing that out. I think I may have stumbled across that in one or two instances and didn't even know that's why, I landed the client, or that's why I still have the client. All right. So you're pretty much saying, instead of presenting all options, saying, hey, you can pick tier one, tier two, tier three, uh, tell them, hey, if we were to work together, it would be best for you to start at tier one, and let's see where we go from there. You kind of leave it open ended. You're not necessarily channeling, telling them to where to go, but you're kind of inviting them and showing them that, okay, we could go in multiple different directions here, but it's based on what you really want to accomplish as we get to know each other a little better, and as I get to know your business. Yeah, most
Yeah,
people, business owners, salespeople, like, we're just full of patty beef. Just always assuming that we know our prospects business, that we know everything about your business, and we can get you so many sales. You'll never have to lift a finger again. um, Overly assumptive, right? So but you're saying, do the opposite. Come in with more question marks, leave a lot of blank spaces, and allow the client to walk with you and kind of direct the direction that you're going in. And
absolutely. Bingo. The thing that about sales that I feel like a lot of times people don't understand is they think sales is saying the right thing in the right order. And really, I like to think about sales as a progression. It's a progression towards a relationship, a progression towards making a decision. And I'm here to facilitate you, helping you make that decision. I understand there's going to be objections along the way. That's part of the sales process. So what I'm trying to do is, especially thinking about structuring offers for LinkedIn, I understand that this might be a little bit different if you know somebody, right? Like you already have trust. So I'm not saying that like you have to be rigid to say if someone gets a referral and they would say, hey, I like Billy says that, he really likes you. I want what Billy has. You don't have to say, oh, well, I only start this way. If you know them, it's fine. But if you're meeting with a stranger and you don't know anything about them, then you want to be control your position to say, this is how I think is best. You're demonstrating authority and you're progressing. So my goal is to have a long-term relationship with you. My desire is to work together for a really long time, but it starts with aligning on our interests. I need to understand more about your business. I need to understand more about your desires, because otherwise I feel uncomfortable selling you fulfillment services when I don't know if you're going to get an ROI. If you say things like that, the clients are going to be like,
oh,
thank
whoa.
you, because I don't really want to, I want to make sure that I get an ROI too. So we're aligning, right? Because that's part of the progression. So even if you're charging more for that upfront, as long as there's a beginning and middle and an end, meaning that, they understand what the downsize is, even if it's more money, they're okay doing that because they understand the risk. The actual risk of networking with a stranger is the situation I was in. When you're like 3 months down the line, owing each other money and not really, and starting to think, was this a bad decision? Like, do I even know this person? We jumped in so quickly. I feel like it's important to build, to progress slowly, but have milestones in place that make it so you're vetting them too. So that's an introductory offer structured for progression. And then after that, you're in a better position to actually pitch what you think is personalized and best based off of all the things that you learned. And if you did your first part, what you should feel is confident in knowing what you're selling, and also having the integrity to feel like this is the best path now that you've learned that information. They want to continue, but like, you got to position your solution at that point, the fulfillment, the long-term contract, as like alignment and progressing in alignment towards the outcome that they said that they wanted. If you can't do that well, I found, if you don't know the information. So you want to just get them moving to get the information you need without wasting your time, making sure that you're delivering on what you promised and like demonstrating that, and then having an upsell at the end of it that does land you into the fulfillment, because then it allows you as the business owner to figure out how to separate sales from fulfillment. Because like, this is just speaking from me, like I was doing both. So it's like, I'm selling, I'm fulfilling, selling.
One-man team. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you have a team, then it's like, okay, well, if you've got the client, you've built trust, you've sold them, now all of a sudden you're in a better position to kind of say, okay, well, now we're transitioning into maintenance mode a little bit. And, I'm going to make sure that everything I'm going to pass you off to my team. I'm still going to be involved, but now it's time to kind of go back and try to do it again, get more clients, like try to find other people that align with your interest, that allow you to kind of start the process over again. That's the way I kind of see it. And then, to be honest, what I'm explaining to you is that became part of my service, where I realized that, like, okay, I know from my own mistakes how hard it is to sell online. So I have to beat this out of my clients to say, we need to structure offers for LinkedIn. So even if, I'm helping
them to structure their offers.
Yeah, well, because I'm doing the work and you're like not really understanding that you're like, so let's take your like client who's doing like a like a course, right? The course might be $5,000. Okay, that's fine. You could totally sell that, but like, how do you structure an introductory offer that's lower price point that like gets them into some sales process? I actually found that helping them with that was part of the fulfillment, right? So now I'm understanding what their offers are. I'm understanding what their desires are. Now it's not just the fulfillment of the services is not just about like, hey, I'm going to set up some automations. It's like, no, I think that we need to work through structuring your offer. I think we need to work through kind of like figuring out your target market. What, like going back to like the analysis of it, that part is what I found clients were like, oh, I'm appreciative of working with you. We're really aligned in figuring this out together. And I like, you start seeing that's where I started saying, okay, the automation no one's really caring that much about that, like that much. It's more about like, I could do this manually and not need to send out hundreds of messages. Let's just go find 10 open conversations and see if we can get like a good introductory offer, like whatever that is, follow the company page, right? So then we're like creating content to really try to create a funnel out of this that actually leads to conversions. That might be a networking call. That might be whatever the client kind of wants. That I felt like at the end of the day, the automation started not getting in the way, but it was like an unnecessary, chaotic data stuff that didn't really lead to the result as much. It took time to get there, because I'm not saying to like stop it. I'm just saying that you started realizing that that what I was selling was actually help with sales and help with personal branding and helping with like targeted outreach that automations could be under that umbrella, but it doesn't necessarily need to be. And why not just save money? Take that $50 and put it towards paying somebody, $15 an hour for like 4 hours to just like do prospecting on Sales Navigator. And
Yeah.
then make sure that all those 30 people are like perfectly curated, and then just like outreach them, open conversations. The client wasn't judging me at that point based off the number. It was on like the outcome. And I felt like I didn't need the high number to create the outcome if you have the right structure.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not about necessarily the numbers, it's about the outcomes. All right. I think salespeople get caught up in the numbers a lot, you know, especially lead generation agencies. Oh, we can get you, 1,000 appointments in a month, like, or something, some, outrageous number. But
Yes.
out of those appointments, there's only one closed the deal. I mean, the outcome isn't very great. The numbers make it look very attractive, but the outcome isn't so wonderful. So then, would you say then, as an entrepreneur, regardless of the type of business, we should learn how to sell outcomes? Then, don't
Yeah.
sell your product or service. Sell the outcome. What is
Yeah.
it gonna do? Sell that. Okay.
Absolutely. It's the biggest what you just hit the nail on is, I think, in my experience, the biggest misconception, that the biggest mistake people make, especially on LinkedIn, and networking in general. Because if you try to sell the features, I call it, or the product, it's
Yeah.
transactional. I'm
Transaction.
not saying that that would never work, but you got to remember that you're networking with strangers. They don't know anything about you. So if you're trying to oversell all the things that you can do, it becomes somewhat transactional. Versus if you're selling the outcome and you're positioning and structuring your offer around alignment, around wanting to get them the outcome that they want, now all of a sudden you're building relationship that
Mm,
allows easier progression. It's kind of, if you, it's not obvious to people because they are so excited about all the things that they can do that they're not really thinking about the flip side. Is everyone on the other side is thinking, what's in it for me? I want to get you the outcome you want, but I need to understand the outcome you want. And we just met. So I'm not going to sit and tell you that I can get the outcome. What I'm trying to do is give you an introductory offer to show you're serious, that we can go through an exercise together to make sure that we're aligned on what the outcome is. And then we can
yeah.
craft a solution that gets you to that outcome. If I'm overselling you on all the things I can do, and I say this from a place of, that's what I did. I made the mistakes. I would get on calls and I would pitch. I would try to like polish my pitch deck and like my stories. I was so focused on me and my product and like my services that I wouldn't close. And I had to like look in the mirror and be like, what's wrong? And I would look and I would realize that I'm talking so much about what I want to talk about that I wasn't making the client feel comfortable, that like I cared about what they wanted. And so I realized that I don't know what they want. It's okay to say that and acknowledge that and even tell the client that. That's what you're paying for, is my time to help extract out what it is that you want, so I can understand how to put together campaigns and programs around LinkedIn in a personalized way and help you execute them in time. But I want you to feel aligned with the outcome.
Mhm. Okay. Nice. I think that's the thing that AI can't, replace, the
No.
relationship building aspect. I think the people who learn how to build relationships as they do what they do, I think those people win ultimately. But I think it takes some degree of patience, wouldn't you say? Because
Absolutely.
relationships don't form overnight. You're right. It's not
Yeah.
always instant. You're not always best friends. I mean, maybe in person you meet somebody in the supermarket and you have this great conversation over brands of oatmeal, right? Whatever, right?
Yeah.
Some random thing, and you happen to be similar personality temperaments, and whoa, you guys are friends, right? But on LinkedIn, it's not the same, right? You're probably wondering, is this person even real, or is
Yeah.
or is this a bot? Right? Are they just trying to
Absolutely.
sell me something? Can I trust this person? The
Um,
trust factor is, I think, what's the biggest challenge. How can people master the trust factor in networking on LinkedIn, Colin?
That's my whole brand. Pursue networking, not pursue sales.
Hmm. Pursue networking, not
What
pursue
I want to
sales.
try to disrupt in the market is everybody focuses on how to get rich quick. When you focus on how to get rich quick, you're chasing sales and you're chasing bad habits. I'm not saying that you can't make money. I want to
Mm-hmm.
make money just like everybody else, but I'm not pursuing money. I'm pursuing networking. I'm pursuing relationships. Everything that's good that's come out of my business on LinkedIn is from meeting the right people who saw something in me and wanted to support me because I was supporting them in ways that, to be honest, I didn't even understand at the time. I'm just being honest. Like, I would meet people and I would start with my introductory offer, and then they would say, "What else can you do?" And I would start like figuring out what I can do. And then behind the scenes, what wound up happening over a year was they were building their business in ways that I was so focused on myself that I didn't realize that they were actually viewing me as a piece of their puzzle and putting me in a position that they brought other people in and they were like, "Talk to Colin." That's how it got sticky. What I've learned about business is that services don't scale. Complexity and teamwork scale. The complexity of teamwork scales a lot easier than selling a million different things. I tried to say, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that. But what wound up being the sticky thing that scaled was over years, the actual clients that I had, their businesses grew and more people kind of came into the mix, that the systems got more complicated, that the people that were involved got more complicated. I became more irreplaceable, not because I was doing so many different things, but because of the
Oh,
knowledge
yeah.
that I had. I literally was kind of irreplaceable. Here's a really good story that'll demonstrate this, just as an example. My first client on LinkedIn, I started exactly as I said. I structured his offer. I built his. I redid his profile, and then he said, "What else can you do?" And I said, "Well, how about I build you a Shopify site because you need a storefront for your e-commerce product." He said, "Okay, how much is that going to cost?" I said, "I made it up, $3,000." He said, "Okay." I was like, "Great." Built that, and then he said, "What else can you do?" I said, "Well, how about I set up some automations? We can do outreach on LinkedIn now that I know who your target market is." He said, "Okay." So I started doing that. And I started trying to coach him. And I realized he's very bad at sales. What he's saying is not what you want to say. I would try to coach him. And he would say, "Well, can you just do this for me?" I said, "Okay. Well, I'm going to charge you a little bit more," whatever it was at the time. "I'm going to charge you $1,500 a month." He said, "Okay." And I was like, "Really?" So now I have a $1,500 retainer. I was like, "Great." I started doing his outreach. I started hiring around it, and that years went by. Built up his network, built up sales. It wasn't like we were doing so well, but I'm telling you, a year ago at this time, it had been 3.5 years that this guy's been paying me $1,500 a month, and I am at the point where I realize I'm thinking this can't last much longer. Like, we're not like, he's selling his product and like we're doing fine and like I'm trying, but like we're not like hitting it off. Like, it's not like scaling. But like what happened was eventually we're still networking on LinkedIn. He's meeting all these people. Finally, he meets another person, and then I introduced them, and eventually around March of last year, I'm in my head around this time thinking there's no way that this client's going to last a whole other year. Like, I don't, because basically we're breaking even. He might be making about $1,500, let's say, in his store, let's say a month, and he's paying me that much. So I'm like, because I'm like kind of a good, I'm like, I don't feel like I'm like that important. Like, does he? But he sets up a meeting with me, and with this guy Mark, and Mark and him are on the call, and he met Mark. I like kind of introduced them like through LinkedIn. Mark works in the industry with this client. Mark wants to help him grow his business, but there's one request that he has. You have to change the name of the product. And so they're telling me this, and I'm like, wait, you want to change the name of the product? Mark goes to me, you didn't tell him? And I'm like, wait a second. I'm putting it all together, and I'm like, there's only one person in the world that could change the product name because I own all the systems. How do you even change the product name? On the website, on the Canva? I'm the most valuable person in the room because there's only one person that knows where all the names even are to make that type of change. He was so nervous to tell me because if I said I don't want to do that, the business, then Mark's walking away. He feels that like you got to change the name, and he feels like you could help, but the name's not good. I didn't have the foresight or understanding to ever offer something like that to the client to say, I think that we should change the name. But this guy did, and he does that. A year or so later, still getting paid. I'm more valuable than ever. They're all now, there's a whole team that Mark has brought in of Americans too. So it's like, I'm not even working with like people abroad that I was kind of trying to figure out. They're working with me, and I'm like the leader of the company working with this guy still because he like kind of trusts me.
Mm-hmm.
The lesson there is that I've learned that complexity and teamwork scale in ways that you don't really understand because businesses change over time. And so like everybody wants to grow the business. And it wasn't that like I wasn't valuable, is that the guy actually saw me as real valuable because like he trusted me, and he's still trying to build his business. And then eventually it came to a point where like only one person had the skill sets on the team that could really like make certain changes that were instrumental for the organization. And it was because of all the work that I'd put in over the last 3 years. I had everything on the cloud. I was working on Canva. I had all the assets. I could make that change. And you know what? I didn't even charge the client. I just kept asking for my retainer. Like I rebuilt the website. We worked together. It's fine. Like I just want to be part of the team. That I feel like now it's even more sticky. Quick story too. I was working with him for 4.5 years, and I never met him. Literally last week, finds out he's going to a networking event in Atlanta. This was on Friday. And so I find that out, and I'm like, I look it up. It's like 20 minutes from me. I got to go meet this guy. He built my whole business. I mean, essentially, this whole thing kind of came from that one client who just kept paying me and then gave me confidence to kind of keep going. We go to this networking event. It was actually really nice. I met him, and I had such a surreal moment where we're kind of at this networking event, and I say to him at a certain point, I'm like, Michael, how do you know this guy, the master of ceremony guy who's like there inviting him? He goes, I think your work, you introduced me to him. I met him from LinkedIn. And I go, I had this aha moment because, you don't really realize what's happening outside of your own little like orbit. That, a year ago, I'm thinking that I feel like he's going to fire me. To now I'm in a room that I realize that I don't know if this is even true, but in his mind, I'm kind of the reason that he is in the room in the first place. And then also this last year, I'm like managing his team. I didn't really do anything, to be honest. I don't even give myself credit because a lot of it was me outsourcing to other people. I wasn't even the one that was doing it. I didn't even realize. I just try to keep it consistent. We're always reaching out to 20 people, opening conversations, and letting him take it over. But I've learned really that like complexity of scale comes from like duration of time, because like everybody's working independently, that things really scale up. That it's not about like offering more things. It's about going deeper with certain people that like expose such like more complicated problems, and the complicated problems that you're solving together is what kind of lead to like real world tangible business results. And the only way to do that is to play your part on the team, and you got to like keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. And to be honest, I contrast this with certain people that I've worked with over the years that took an opposite approach. I always kind of intuitively understood that. I think it's my legal background that I kind of like realized that like the complexity comes from going deeper with people, because the longer you work with people, the more complicated it naturally kind of gets, because you got to like go through things together. Whereas if you keep doing the introductory offers, you might make a lot more, you might make money quicker, but like you're doing surface level analysis. The hard part is like the fulfillment after like, 18 months, when you're scratching your head being like, how do we make this work? That's where like the hard stuff comes out of. And I've seen this. I see people on LinkedIn who I used to work with years ago with the same client that like we parted ways for a variety of reasons, and they're out still just selling the same thing, same service, same people. They're just selling. And I look at my business now. I have a software platform that I don't even know how to code. I have clients that I've been with for 4.5 years. I'm, doing marketing to try to create brand. Like this stuff that I'm doing, I've learned these skill sets because of the complexity of just keep going deeper and deeper with people. That like makes me kind of rethink, well, like how do you record more seamlessly online? I learned about Restream because I needed to get HD recordings for clients, because like I wanted to kind of create like better content, and I was like, Zoom kind of looks shitty. It's just like it doesn't. I feel like
Zoom. No offense.
I mean, it's a great communication tool, but if you're trying to record like a screen recording, that's like
it's lower quality. Yeah, 720 pixels.
That's an example of like you can't get there like to understanding that awareness unless you keep going deeper. It's because like my desire to like really actually do the best I can for the client forced me to start doing research. I'm like, well, how do you record in cloud-based software? Because I've never met these people, but like I want to create an environment in which we could kind of create better content. I find that like a lot of the people that I used to work with a few years ago, we were on the same level. We were both just like operators on LinkedIn. I still have the same clients, and they're still kind of like selling a course, like sell. It's like a sales hamster wheel. And I hope that now in 2025, I'm going to have breakout success with software sales, and branding and like, scalability, because with other people, it's like the complexity associated with all of this stuff is what's creating more scale. And I feel like a lot of people don't really grasp that. You don't need to become like very successful. You don't need a million things. You just need to do like a few things really well and ride the coattails of doing things together. And I'm still on that mission. I want all my clients to be very successful, and they're not yet. So I still have the mission's not done, but I'm hoping that by building software and building brand, now we're like, I can bring more people to them. Like we're working and they're helping me. They give me referrals. That's kind of how I feel like relationships. It's all about relationships. It's not about sales. The people who aren't like the colleagues or whatever that I used to work with, they're chasing sales. They're still chasing sales. They're pursuing sales. They talk about sales. Everything is sales. And for me, it's pursuing networking. I care about the relationships. I enjoy the process. And out of that, I've been able to network with strangers and turn it into businesses.
Nice. Oh, those are two amazing stories, man. My gosh, 4.5 years. That is phenomenal.
It's weird timing too, right? Like it was just like last week. I actually went to him. I couldn't believe we were talking. It was just like 4.5 years. We never met. I mean, we've spent a lot of time on Zoom and things like that, but it finally happened.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. So does every business have the potential to create that level of stickiness or are some businesses just not designed that way, where it has to just be, okay, I serve you, provide a certain, then I move on?
Right? No, you gotta be flexible to what the universe brings. I think it's about having a clear understanding of what you want, and then being able to figure out, having the awareness to navigate it as it happens. It starts with like your why. Like, why are you doing this? I've seen a lot of my friends. It's kind of sad as I've gotten older in life. Certain things that I kind of realized. I had a lot of friends who, like in our 20s, in your 20s, you spend a lot of time with like friends, and everyone like talks about their visions for their life. And I've seen a lot of like friends who like had those visions. I know what they said, and I've seen it into our 30s that there were opportunities that came that in my head I saw the awareness where it's like you could seize that, like
Mhm.
that could be an opportunity, and for whatever reason they didn't like seize it. Like I
Oh,
mean, I don't know. Like it's a weird thing about human nature that I've kind of learned into my 30s, that like I remember what people said they wanted to do this thing, and it's not that they didn't seize it, it's that they didn't take it seriously, right? They didn't like jump at it and give it their all. It was kind of like a half-assed. um
I'm sorry, the audio just got weird. Oh,
can you hear me?
sorry, I couldn't make out what you were saying for like
Can you hear me now?
15
Can
seconds.
you hear me?
Yeah, you said you had friends
Yeah.
who had opportunities that they didn't see the opportunity. You saw it, but they
Yeah.
didn't grab it. Then what
Yeah,
after that?
it's an awareness thing. It's a weird thing about human nature that I've kind of just learned from my personal life, that like,
Awareness. Oh,
it's a certain I think it's like an entrepreneurial spirit where sometimes, you don't, I feel like you kind of see what you want to see. There's like a perception to like everything, right? It's like one person sees opportunity, one person sees problems. It's just, I don't know. It's not, you don't really know what it is. It's just kind of your attitude in the way that you kind of present it. So it's like certain of my friends,
yeah.
I remember like they had dreams, they want to do things, and they're still pursuing it. But there was moments throughout our early 30s where I felt like opportunities were presented to them. They just didn't like capitalize on it. They didn't take it seriously. They kind of like half-assed it. They didn't have the right work ethic, in my opinion, because I kind of saw it up close where I was like, I don't know, this seems like a really good opportunity. How are you showing up?
Yeah.
Looks like you're going out a lot. Looks like you're not really like, in your head, you don't see it as like the moment. You just see it as a moment and like think that there's going to be lots of moments. But that's not really how I always
Yeah.
saw it, where I was like, I don't know. I feel like the
Yeah.
moment is like that looks like a really good opportunity. I would give it my all. And like, they just didn't. Um, and now that I'm approaching 40, in a few years, I see that within my like group of friends where it's like certain people have been able to figure things out and some people have not. So to answer your question of like, you know, is every opportunity like can you like is every opportunity kind of like scalable? I feel like it's a matter of having an understanding of what you want and then figuring out how to use opportunities that come in to like uh, make things happen. It's kind of like when you roll, like when if there's like snow or something and you roll like a little ball down, it gets bigger as it goes down. It like
Mhm.
picks things up. I feel like that's kind of like the entrepreneur. That's how my business has happened. It's like you try to
Yeah.
create win-wins for people. You try to pick things up. You try to do right by people, and then you reap what you sow. But if you're always kind of like pushing
Hmm.
things away or focusing on yourself or not seeing awareness or having like negative energy, what happens is like time's going to pass. It's just that you didn't really pick up what was there. Not every business is
Yeah.
scalable, but you can pivot and change models and
Mhm.
drop things, change things. Like you're always like like I feel like a pivot away from a big like return.
Wave. Yeah. 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 I am water.
Yeah,
A lot of people, they're not
yeah, I like
water.
that.
They're
Yeah,
like mud, right? They're not flexible. They're not adjusting to the environment that they're placed in. And as you're speaking, I'm thinking about what's the core of it all. And I think the core of not seeing opportunity is selfishness. you know Almost every opportunity I've had to be that has brought me to where I'm now. I've had to be selfless in some kind of way, giving more than what I'm expected to. Shout out to Bob Berg and John David Mann for writing The Go Giver, and a powerful book about giving, how giving leads to success. And I've realized it's when I've given of a little bit extra time to maybe a client, that the opportunities have unfolded, because we spent that extra time, I realized, oh, there's something else that they need, and because I spend that extra time, there's more trust that's developed. And so they're willing to pay, they're willing to stick around. I get stickiness. um, but when I'm selfish, it's like, you know what, I'm gonna stick to just what I'm doing right now. I'm not gonna adjust my offer. I'm not gonna go outside the boundaries of what my brilliant in quotes, brilliant brain has come up with. And the universe has to keep quiet because I'm just gonna get mine. Right? And we're so inflexible that we can't adjust to the times that we're living in. I think those are the people who
Yes.
suffer, right? In my opinion, and I've heard this saying that the the, the ones who are willing to change, the changers, it will inherit the earth. But the ones who refuse to change will be beautifully equipped for a world that no longer exists. So I think that kind of ties back around to what you're saying. Like seeing opportunity is key. But if you're not seeing it, it's because you're probably too caught up in your own little world, and that's because of selfishness. So then, if we should like flip that around, then if we can start practicing kindness, practicing selflessness, practicing generosity, then that will put us in a position where we can spot opportunities more easily, and plus more opportunities will present themselves to us. Like, am I wrong? Am I crazy here, or
I'm
is there
I'm going
something
to say
there?
I'm into that. I think that you hit the nail on the head. I also think that the people that I saw that didn't see the opportunity, you were right. That's the way I see it. They were just so in their own way, unfortunately, that
Mm,
it's like that's why I said it's kind of sad. I've seen that as I've gotten older. It's self-destructive behavior. Now, like, are they aware that it's self-destructive? No. And who am I to judge? I'm not trying to judge them. It's just I know what they were saying at those late nights in our 20s of what they wanted their life to be like. I know they were being sincere then. And closing in on 40, it's not that. Now it looks like they're struggling a little bit. And it's not because of lack of opportunity. I've seen it. It's just the way that they
mm,
acted in the face of opportunity. I don't blame whoever's out there not wanting to invest in them, not wanting to like move forward. They're not easy to deal with. It's like not the kindness, and especially in a competitive marketplace where there's so many people who do have awareness and kindness and like over want to deliver value in all things. The cream rises to the top. It's like the people who have the right attitude are the ones that attract
yeah.
the opportunities. It is what it is. It's just, these types of things I think are really valuable lessons for people because I have seen it. I still see it. I think it's sometimes hard to fully understand that. I didn't. I'm just going to speak for myself in my 20s and into my 30s because the story wasn't written yet, right? Who am I to judge other people? But closing it on 40, there's a lot of chapters that are written. And I'm not saying people can't turn it around, but we're we're closing it on midway is the way I kind of see it. So if you haven't even uh, gotten close to kind of what you were talking about, it's more like sad at this point is the way I kind of see it. And I'm sure people can obviously turn around. You can always change, right? Because you can increase your awareness. I feel like there's always opportunities, but do you seize the opportunities? Do you see it, and or do you like for me? I don't think I would have been here today if I didn't seize the opportunity during COVID. I recognized it for what it was, which was this was my moment in time where if I actually wanted to build a software around LinkedIn and build
Mhm.
like an organization is the way I kind of thought about it, like an agency, like build people, put things together. I will never be able to do that. I never even thought I could do it, but because of COVID, like literally now, everybody's online where the core skill set is your ability to pursue networking. And hey, I'm pretty good at that if I'm willing to do it. But now I actually feel like the moment's gone. It's like I could sit and like do one-on-ones, but it wasn't like COVID where you could just like sit all day on Zoom, go from like one to
Yeah.
one. They also flooded the market with money. So it was like everybody was looking to spend money because everybody was home. So you wanted service. You wanted to get on Zoom. That's how I kind of like was able to sell, and my conversion rates went up because I saw that, where it was like everybody's looking for service because now all of a sudden people have nothing to do. They want to get on Zooms with young people and like just be part of something. So it was like easy to put people together. If I had the attitude where it's just like, maybe later, it was like, I don't think I would be here. I'd just be like, well, you don't have to do this. That's kind of the way I felt like with some of my friends, where it was like they just don't seize the moment that they're in, and they're just think like, well, I could just do this later. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, maybe, but like, I don't know. It seems like that's a good one to seize. If you do it, it seems like that might work out for you, but then they don't.
Yeah. So the key is seizing opportunity and staying kind, staying generous, not shifting away from that. If you're not kind, if you're not generous, well, maybe you need to change, right? Maybe practice that,
Yeah.
right? Practice saying nice things to people, even if you don't have to. Practice at the supermarket, say hi to people when you're on the street, and you can change your entire reality with just those tiny, tiny adjustments and changes. And then history tends to repeat itself in some way. And so there may be some other global crisis
Perfect.
that or some other global wave. I think the wave right now is the
Yeah.
AI, and there's way more AI tools out there than you
Yeah.
think. Infinitely more AI tools than you think. There is something for everything. And if we can master using those tools right now, not saying, oh, I can just do it later, I'll just learn it later, then I think we'll be in good shape. If we so I've been testing out some new AI tools, Colin. Yeah. Do you remember in our first session, I said, I wish that there was a way to personalize LinkedIn automation, like hyper personalize it, putting it specific. I'm like, wow, I literally found a guy who literally built a software that does that. Hyper personalized LinkedIn automation powered by AI, and it seems to be taking the market by storm. In fact, I landed a client who he's built his entire business on that single tool, white labeled, and I'm like, wow! And he's ready to set me up and show me how to use it. So I'll see if that improves the odds of AI and improves the odds of LinkedIn automation and makes it a little bit more human, even though it's less human now, right? but maybe our
You know,
inputs or personalization can be more
even what we
human.
talked about today, this is my attitude on that. I'm not saying that AI can't work. I'm just saying that like I feel like it's focusing on the wrong thing, right? Because the idea, even with you, is you can get a client, but the question is how long can you retain them, right? So it's
Yes,
like it's not about like
retention.
you can automate engagement, but you can't automate developing a business relationship. You can't automate developing trust. You can't automate like going deeper with people. So it's like I'm not saying that automation can't work. I'm just thinking that I think too many people think about it the wrong way. I'm not saying it's a good tool. It's a tool in the toolkit, but when you're building a business, it's a people game. So like trying to think about automated like outreach is sometimes. I'm not saying like there's a path that I can see that it's okay, but I like to say it's not about it's you don't want to treat people like numbers where it's like you're having AI just go out and talk. Like at a certain point you got to get people on calls and you got to learn, you got to do diagnostics,
Yeah, the
and AI can't
relationship
help with that,
building.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like how good are you at diagnosing? Sometimes if you're, I'm not saying you because I feel like you're a smart guy and you like are a good people person, but some people I feel like if they use AI to do outreach. At a certain point, you're going to get the engagement, then you're going to get on a call. And if you're a weirdo and don't know how to speak with somebody and have to do the research, you're not going to close the deal. So it's kind of like, I don't know, like what's the skill set you're acquiring? And for you, I could see, okay, fine, I have no problem. Like do automated outreach. You have the right mindset. You're not like a weirdo. But for certain people, I'm a little nervous when you take these introverts and you're like, oh yeah, just like go have AI like do all this stuff. It's like, you gotta, it's still a people's game. Like you got to build relationships. You got to build trust.
Yep, absolutely. AI can't replace people skills. That is the number one most irreplaceable skill.
Yeah.
Ability to develop trust.
And sometimes I feel like people are hoping that it will.
Yeah. So if you're watching this, I'm just telling you, it's never gonna do that. You still gotta get good with people. Develop the ability to engender trust and affinity and so on. So How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. That should be the newest book in kindergarten, or maybe first grade, right?
Yes, I absolutely agree with that. Well, one thing before we drop, I wanted to so I just kind of recap. I kind of want to talk about offers, and I'm trying to get you to think through like maybe structuring things a little bit differently, because I think that maybe if you implement some of the things we did today, just about like, selling an intro offer, maybe you might increase your conversions. Maybe you get like another client with a little bit more money that isn't like, that would be a good win. Whatever that is for you, just starting to think about like, because again, I want you to like make more money. And yes, I could pay you more money and like give you more work, but like that's not as fun as the challenge of like you doing it yourself. Teach a man to fish and he's not hungry for his life. That's kind of what I'm going for here. But with that being said, I do also want to, I'll give this to you. So maybe like next week we could kind of go over this a little bit. I'm going to give this to you. I mentioned, well, you mentioned this to me, that the onboarding of the software is quite bad. And I understand that. Like, how do we train? So the emails, everything, they're not very good. So I actually spent some time. I know you're a good writer, so I kind of wanted to give this to you. And if you could review it, and then, we can talk about it on Slack or like, spend some time next time. Here's what I'm trying to go for. And I just want to explain this to you. So when you review it, you could kind of like give me your honest feedback. I am trying to I want to grow on social media. I want people to watch office hours. I want people to kind of participate in the community, but the ultimate driver is I want them to download the software. Now the software hopefully gets better over time. We have AI and it's like, good. But I really feel like I want to be able to try to meet people where they're at and give them a lot of really good information about how to get results on LinkedIn. So how do we like succinctly kind of explain to people a little bit more about like what LinkedIn means? I feel like if I do that really well, one, it'll increase conversions overall for the product because, I'm giving 30 days free. So anybody that's on social media downloads it. How do we get them to like an onboarding experience that hopefully gets them excited about participating, like working with us, investing in themselves ultimately. The way that I'm thinking about this from a copywriting stance is the first 20 days, I want it to be all about great information about LinkedIn. Like I want it to be so good that people tell people you should download the product just to get the emails. That's the way I see it. It's like, how do you actually give everybody like really good information in emails? Maybe even some video content like sprinkled into the emails, just like jam pack it through like you from day one. If you don't really know anything about LinkedIn to day like 20 is the way I'm kind of thinking about it. We're going over like your profile, some information about Sales Navigator, search tools, networking funnels, prospecting, like everything. That's what I would like to do. So it's like people talk about these emails. That's what I'm giving to you now because you're good at LinkedIn. So it's like, how could you read this and then like say, did I miss anything? Did you think it was good? Do I think you need to restructure it? What do you think if this kind of hit your inbox in days 1 through 20? Love for your feedback on that. Then say you think, oh, this is good. The next 10 days, I got to still write, but I would love your feedback on That's like when I want to start introducing the brand, right? So first 20 days is all about the customer and like LinkedIn and getting set up and like, understanding about how to think about, being a good networker, how to pursue networking. And then how do you kind of ease into pitching, right? Because that's essentially what we're doing, but like pitching the right way. Telling them about office hours, telling them about working with us. How do we break down the offers? That to me is the goal. I would love your feedback because you kind of understand everything now. So it's like, lead with value, and then we got to slowly start introducing a little bit more about sales, let's just say. So what I would start with is for you to kind of just spend some time reading this, give me feedback, see what you think. Let's start with that. And then we can have a conversation about like, how do you maybe envision the next 10 days? Like, how do we kind of ease into trying to get that conversion and ask for it? Well, the goal of this is I feel like, we're going to flood the market with clips. We're going to create a lot of like live stuff. Eventually, it might take some time. We're going to get some traction. People are going to go to the website. They're going to download the product, and then they'll receive this. So this is our opportunity to try to wow them with these guys know what they're talking about, and they're helpful. And I want it to be that way. So it's not like get rich quick. That's not what I'm saying. It's like literally the mechanics of LinkedIn. So yeah, I'll share this with you on Slack, and then I just wanted to give you that context so you could review it and let me know what you think.
All right, absolutely. Sounds good, man. I'm excited. The gears are turning already, and I'm excited to be a part of this project, man.
Yeah.
Help people to pursue networking, not sales. Pursue networking first, and the sales will come. Love it.
So someone on my team, her name is Alyssa.
Yeah.
She's helping me with. She's leading a project where I'm letting her kind of do this, and in time, I'll kind of like let you watch some of this. She wants to, so associated with these emails, she wants to create some YouTube content that's a little bit more training. Like, how do you take the concept that's in these emails, but like kind of create some videos? Let's just say she's working on that, and I'm kind of giving her free reign to figure out like what she wants to do. I'm letting her hire an editor here. I'll just show you because it's a little cryptic. Like, what do I mean by that?
Okay.
1 second. Okay. So this is like an example, 53 seconds. So it's just started, but like.
Oh. Nice. Okay. Pops up. It's growth. Oh, nice. Okay.
So that's just a taste.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Hey, are we still on YouTube?
Yeah. I
Okay.
think so. Yeah.
Very cool.
Just going. I don't feel like anybody's watching it. Don't worry. But this is. I'm letting her run with this, but I'm hoping that some of these little clips and videos will be sprinkled into some of these emails, and I view all of this as kind of like onboarding, because you even had mentioned that like we got to get better at explaining the experience. Like, what is this? And I don't want it to be so much about software, because I actually view that as kind of like the path to the most success is to like, just like I said, we're selling the outcomes. We're not selling the features. So I don't want all of this on. Who cares what the software does? Right? It's about like transformation stories. We want people to kind of think through how to use LinkedIn as a vehicle for growth. And then use that as even like a little bit of my story with some videos, but like focus more on meeting people where they're at, expanding out like their concepts of what LinkedIn can be. And then hopefully if we do this well, and I'm hoping that, with your feedback, Alyssa's feedback, polishing, what we want to get to is like, this is the reason why people will hopefully like will create some virality. Because not only can I give out licenses to people, but if I gave you, let's say like 10 licenses or somebody else 5 licenses, or in time, like give out licenses to the community, you're not just giving people software, you're giving people knowledge, you're giving people access to community, and making sure that that is like, good, helpful, is what would get people to share it. Not because, the truth is most people don't really, I'm a realist. Most people don't really care about software. They don't really care about what I've built. What they care about is how it impacts them. What's in it for me. So yeah. So you don't need the software to get results. You just need the right attitude and the right framing, the right awareness. That's what I want to kind of bring to the table through like the communication side of things. And I feel like you're a great partner, and we'll have good instincts on like, how do we kind of polish that? And also, if you feel like it's good, then hopefully we can translate that into Klaviyo of like automated emails, that we can kind of reach a point where, I like you can feel more confident at that point if you're meeting people, even in like this, for example, entrepreneurial Jamaican thing. Like, you can not only give licenses to people, but you're helping them. You're leveraging me to help with training, because that's essentially what I'm trying to do here. It's like there's a lot of information about like LinkedIn. It's a lot of information. It's a lot of like dump. I don't want to. I mean, it's people could go watch all these videos, but people need to kind of have like a more clear-cut path to being delivered good information. And I view that as the onboarding series. Like, that's the way. It's like, tell everybody to download the software so they receive the emails. And then if they want to pay to participate, they can. Hopefully they like the product, but at least we're leading with value. Like, the emails are what everybody should receive, because hopefully by the end of the onboarding, you really understand not only everything about LinkedIn, but like starting to understand what is office hours, how you can participate, what are our socials, like why are we doing this, all like the goals of that. And I feel like if you can help with that, you'll take a little bit more ownership, hopefully, in the opportunity.
Okay. Hey, sounds great, man. Sounds great. So let's chat on Slack and talk soon, man.